Recording in progress.
Okay, so let's begin by coming down onto the back of our body here. And of course, you could also begin in any other position that allows you to just feel supported by the ground. We'll start by taking a big deep inhale through the nose. You can sigh out your mouth. And then beginning to direct your breath in and out through your nostrils. Deep breaths in and slow breaths out. And then when you're ready, we'll bring some awareness into the physical body. So starting with the hands and feet, some movement into these areas, rolling wrists and ankles. You can let your neck turn side to side. And then we'll bend up the knees if they're not already. You could hug your knees into your chest and rock side to side. Could also plant your feet on the ground, letting your knees move in a windshield wiper direction. And then we'll come to a neutral, so keeping your left foot planted, extend your right foot up to the ceiling, so the foot facing the ceiling. And then you can bind your hands behind this thigh or calf, maybe you're moving your way up towards the ankle, gently pulling the leg towards you. You can keep your left foot exactly as it is, or maybe inching that foot down the mat. Point and flex through this extended right ankle. And then let's bend up the right knee. So you're in kind of like a half happy baby, holding onto the outside edge of your right foot or ankle. Left foot can be planted or extended. Big breath in. And then on an exhale, we'll draw the knee across the body into a spinal twist. You can adjust your hips. You can also bend the bottom knee so that the knees are stacked. And extend your right arm, look over that shoulder. Inhale, we will come back to center, plant your feet, take a moment here, adjust anything you need to. And then this time, right foot stays planted, left foot up to the ceiling. You can bind behind that leg, maybe ankle. Again, find our half happy baby, bending into your left knee, thinking about pulling that knee towards your armpit or like outside of your torso. And then on an exhale, drawing the knee across the body, spinal twist, other side. Inhale, we'll come back to center. Take any moves you like here. It's feeling proper for me to take a big stretch. Oh, and then hug knees into chest, and we'll take a few breaths to meet into a child's pose facing the front of your mat. So I'm rocking up and down my spine, but you can roll to one side or just use your elbows to support yourself. We'll adjust ourselves on the mat and then come up and over the knees. They can be mat width, apart or together, anywhere in between. Extend your hands out in front, forehead or chin coming to rest. Then we'll add a side stretch, so walk your hands off over to the right, maybe left palm stacks on top of the right. Breathe into the left side of the torso. And then back to center and through to the other side. Other palm can stack on top. And then back to center, and we'll come up into a tabletop. So arranging your shoulders over top of wrists, hips over top of knees, and moving through cat-cow. So belly can relax to begin. And then inhale into a back bend. And exhale, reverse. Inhale into cow, belly relax. And exhale into cat, belly gently hugs to the spine. So you can stay like this, or you can add in any movements like wagging an imaginary tail, or forward and back. Then we'll come to a neutral tabletop again. Find the knees under the hips, and then we'll come into puppy pose. So extend your hands out in front of you. It's like an extended child's pose. And then we're thinking about lowering the chest to the ground. So similar to child's pose, but your sit bones are up in the air. Looking for some opening through the shoulders and chest. And then we'll just kind of slide forward into a Sphinx pose. So you're lowering your pelvis. Your elbows are on the ground. It's a little bit of a back bend here. You could keep your elbows exactly as they are, or you could bring them forward, resting your chin in your hands. Or walk your hands in closer to your ribs, maybe straightening your elbows. And then exhale, we'll come into a child's pose. And then right away back into a tabletop. Finding neutral tabletop, belly button hugs towards your spine. And then tuck your toes and hover your knees just an inch or two off your yoga mat. So you'll feel different parts of your body engage. See if you can maintain this deep breath. And then on your next exhale, you could lower your knees or send your hips to the ceiling for downward dog. If you're in downward dog, you could be pedaling out your feet. And then from downward dog or tabletop, you can always do these shapes with one knee on the ground or both. Let's lift the right leg in the air, bend the knee, stack your right hip on top of your left, three-legged tabletop or a downward dog. Okay, so we're in three-leg tabletop or downward dog. You might be making some big circles with your femur in your hip bone. And then we'll switch sides, lowering the right foot or knee to the ground, lifting the left leg, bending the knee, stack your hip. You can stay or you can make circles. And then we'll bring both feet to the ground, and then from downward dog or tabletop, we'll walk the hands to the feet. So a forward fold at the back of the mat. Could bring your hands to the back of your head. And then we will release any binds. Let your hands in your head just hang as you roll yourself all the way up. Press into your feet, bend in the knees. And then here we are in a mountain pose at the back of your mat. Take a big breath in. And then we'll add a side bend. So inhale, reaching up. You can interlace your fingers or wrap your right fingers around your left wrist. Inhale, we reach, and exhale, bending to the right. Hips to the left. You can imagine you're between two panes of glass here. So armpits facing forward, hips facing forward. And then inhale, we'll come back upright. You can bend your knees, bend your elbows, switch your grip, so opposite pinky or opposite wrist. Inhale to reach, and exhale, side bending. inhale, we'll come back up. Just gonna turn my heat down a little bit. We're back in our mountain pose, and then we'll roll down the same way we came up. So tucking your chin, and as you exhale, just beginning to let your hands and your head hang, bend into your knees, reaching for the ground, really breathing into the back of your body. And then once your hands find the ground, we'll walk them out into a high push-up position and just holding here. And then from this high push-up position, let's lift up the right, so your knees could be on the ground, or lift it. And then we'll draw the right knee to the right elbow. You can come forward on your left knee or toes. Inhale, back to plank. And then we'll switch sides, left knee to left elbow. And then inhale, back to plank. This time, right knee to nose, rounding through your spine, just like in a cat pose. Left knee can always be on the ground. And then we'll plant the right foot between the hands. Make sure your feet are hip width apart, coming into a crescent lunge. Your back knee can be on or off the ground. Taking a couple of breaths here. And then we'll add a side bend to the right. So again, you could interlace your fingers. You could wrap your right fingers around your left wrist. And then we're bending to the right. You could also have like a water bottle or a block underneath your right hand. And then on an inhale, we'll come back upright. Option to cactus your arms, sending your chest to the ceiling and a little back bend. And then again, inhale, back to our neutral crescent lunge. Exhale, fold. Keep your left hand planted, and inhale, peel your torso open in this twisted version of the lunge. Big breath in and out. And then on an inhale, we'll unwind, plant your hands on either side of your front foot, and again, step back into high push-up. Knees can be on or off the ground. And on an exhale, we'll lower all the way down. This time into a regular cobra or upward dog. So regular cobra, you lift your chest, hands under shoulders. And upward dog, hands are in closer to the ribs, knees and hips off the ground. And exhale back into child's pose, tabletop, or downward dog. And we'll take a breath or two here. And then we'll come back into tabletop or downward dog. And then again, shifting forward into high push-up. Knees can be on or off the ground. We'll start with the left knee this time. Left knee to left elbow as you shift forward. Inhale back to plank. Exhale, right knee to right elbow, shift forward. Inhale back to plank. This time left knee to nose, rounding through your chest. You can let your head drop. And then plant the foot between the hands, coming up into our crescent lunge. Right knee can be on the ground or off the ground. We'll find a few breaths in symmetry. Really press into the back foot, can be tucked or untucked. And then we'll side bend to the left this time. So you can interlace, you can wrap your left fingers around your right wrist, bending to the left. Your knee is on the ground. You might have your water bottle or block outside your hip. And then inhale, we'll come back upright. You can cactus your arms, send your chest towards the ceiling, little back bend. Notice if your breath has stopped or changed. Inhale, back upright. Exhale, we fold forward. Keep your right hand planted, and then this time inhale, twisting open to the left. So we're moving through these three planes of motion, side to side, forward and back, and twisting. Inhale, we'll unwind, frame your front foot, step back into your high push-up, knees on or off the ground, and then we'll lower on an exhale, and inhale into your back bend. Could be cobra or upward dog. And exhale into downward facing dog or tabletop. Wherever you are, you could be finding movement or stillness. And then this time, let's send the gaze towards the feet and bring the hands towards the feet. So you can tiptoe, you could take a few big steps, you could hop if you're feeling ready for that. And then with both feet planted, we'll inhale, halfway lift, chest forward, and exhale, fold. Press into your feet, bend into your knees. We'll rise up again. You can do that slow roll. You can move faster. This time we'll add a reach through the arms. And exhale, mountain pose. Find your breath. Find yourself here. And we'll start moving a little bit more fluidly. So inhale, reaching your arms up. And exhale, let's fold forward. Inhale, halfway lift, chest up. Exhale, plant your hands, step your right foot back. You can keep the knee down, lifted or lower it. Inhale, we'll come up into our crescent lunge. Exhale, we'll twist. Bring the right arm forward, left arm back. You can stay right here, or maybe you bring your left hand to your right thigh. Again, back bending in this little twist. And then inhale, we'll cartwheel the hands forward, stepping the left foot back into 3-leg down dog or tabletop. Your right knee can be on the ground. Bend your left knee, stack open your hips. And then let's bring the square off the hips again. Knee to nose, round your spine. And then plant the left foot between your hands, spin your right heel to the ground, and we'll cartwheel up into Warrior Two, Virabhadrasana 2. So I have my back to you, but I'll do my best to just kind of look over my shoulder here. Finding your breath. And then we'll flip the front palm, hinge back into an exalted warrior. And then inhale back to Warrior Two. Exhale, find your feet. Inhale, reach forward for side angle pose. So elbow to knee. We're again imagining we're between those two panes of glass. You can keep your left elbow on your knee, or you could slide the hand inside your shin, maybe towards the floor, your ankle, or a block. Your top hand can be to your hip, to the ceiling, or over your ear. If you're working to bind, it's an internal rotation. You reach for that hip, or maybe creating that little thread between your leg with your hands. And then let's all look down to the front foot. Inhale, we come back up to Warrior Two. Exhale into your feet. And then we'll cartwheel the hands to the ground and step your left foot back into 3-leg down dog. Option to bend the knee. You can stay here, you can make circles, or you could drop into a wild thing. So letting that left foot drop heavy behind you, you tent onto your left fingertips and rotate your chest to the ceiling. Take a breath. And then on an inhale, we'll come right back the way we came and right into a child's pose. However, of course, if you want more movement, you can move through a flow. High to low push-up into a back bend. Could also be in tabletop, moving through cat-cow. And taking a few breaths here, 2 more breaths. And then send the gaze where the feet are going. We'll come through tabletop or downward dog. You can step or hop or tiptoe. Inhale, halfway lift, chest forward. Exhale, fold. Inhale, we'll come all the way up. You can roll or hinge. We'll add this reach. And exhale, mountain pose. Take a breath here, maybe your eyes close. And then inhale, reach your arms up. Exhale, we'll fold. Inhale, halfway lift, chest forward. Planting your hands, this time the left foot goes back. So your left knee can be on the ground, could be lifted, feet are at least hip width apart. And then we come all the way up. We're thinking about keeping the hips squared to the front of the mat. So pull your right hip back just a little bit. Really press into the back foot. So could be untucked if the knee is lowered, or tucked. And then just, if it's tucked, imagining the heel stacking above the ball of your foot. And then we'll add our twist. Left hand forward this time, right hand back. You could be staying right here or maybe adding a bit of a back bend into the twist. Reaching your right hand for your back left thigh. And then we'll come again forward from here. We'll cartwheel the hands forward. And then stepping this time the right foot back into that 3-leg down dog or tabletop. And then you can bend the knees, stack open your hips, maybe make circles. And then again, we'll square off the hips, draw knee to nose, round through your spine. And then plant the right foot between the hands, spin your back, left heel to the ground, warrior 2. Virabhadrasana 2. Pressing into the heel of the front foot, knee is right over ankle, steering that knee away from the front of your body so it's not sinking in. Your gaze can be over your front fingertips or straight ahead, whatever feels better for your neck. And then again into Exalted Warrior, flip your front palm, hinge your torso back, the bottom half of your body stays exactly the same. And then inhale back to Warrior 2, exhale, just finding the shape. And then reach forward on an inhale, elbow to knee, extended side angle. So really pressing the elbow and the knee into each other so we can rotate the chest open. You can be staying here. You could slide your hand inside, but notice if that my whole body wants to kind of close in. So kind of what are we gaining? What are we losing? If you want to play with binds, it's that internal rotation. You might reach for your thigh here, or you might reach underneath your thigh for the hands. Wherever you feel a sensation is just perfect. And then let's look, we'll come back up to Warrior 2 here. And then cartwheel the hands to the ground, frame your front foot, lift the back heel and step into 3-leg down dog or tabletop. Bend your top knee. Maybe you stay, make circles. Maybe you flip into Wild Thing. Let the right foot drop behind you. You tent onto the right fingers and then roll the chest open. It's like a hybrid between side plank and a back bend. Inhale back the way we came, right into a child's pose. If you want to flow, you can move from a high push-up, exhale into low, inhale into a back bend, and exhale into child's pose, tabletop, or downward dog. Few big breaths. And then let's come up to tabletop or downward dog again. So wherever you feel more comfortable. We'll again lift the right leg in the air, this time keeping the hips squared, so the right hip facing the ground. And exhale, draw right knee to right elbow, same. Left knee can be on the ground or off the ground. Inhale back to 3-leg down dog or tabletop. Exhale, you cross the body, right knee to left elbow. Inhale back to 3-leg downward dog or tabletop. And then again, final time, this time knee to nose, round through your spine. Plant your foot between your hands, spin the back heel to the ground. Cartwheel the hands up, Warrior 2. We've been here before. Find your breath. And then this time we'll straighten the front knee for triangle pose. So first we'll flip the front palm and hinge the torso back, exalted triangle. Again, imagining those 2 panes of glass. And then inhale through your upright and reaching forward. I love a block or a water bottle in this shape. Maybe you like your shin or the ground. And triangle pose. And then you can stay exactly here, or you can play with half moon balance. For half moon balance, we bring the gaze down to the front foot, left hand to your hip. Walk your front right hand forward and out on your prop or on the ground. You might bring your back foot in a little bit and then begin to de-weight that back foot. So the toes might just hover. Maybe the foot lifts up to hip height. Maybe your hand reaches up to hip height. So your right hand is kind of under your shoulder here. And then let's all look down to the front foot, bend that front knee. We're stepping into a kind of messy warrior two. And then we'll straighten the front knee, turn all 10 toes towards the long edge of the mat for a wide leg forward fold. So your feet are parallel with the short edges or the heels turned out slightly. You could add a little back bend here, squeezing your elbows together, send your hips forward, and then send your chest forward. Option to interlace your hands at your low back. This adds a shoulder stretch. And again, any little movements are always welcome. And then we'll release any binds, hands out in front of us. And we're transitioning into pyramid pose. So turn your right toes to face the front of the mat. We take this kind of awkward walk with the hands to frame that foot, and then adjust the back foot, a big step out and wide. So all 10 toes are facing forward. Your back left toes are on an angle. Feet are at least hip width apart. And then you're sending your chest forward over the front leg. You can keep this kind of like with the chest forward in a more active upper body, or you could really round the chest in. Another option is to walk the hands behind you, curling your forehead towards your shin. And then you might stay here in this pyramid pose, or you're coming into standing L, in which case we walk the hands and the gaze forward. Hands come, shoulders come to stack over hands, and then you begin to lift your back left foot. Again, the toes might just be hovering. Maybe you're bringing that foot up to hip height, keeping that left hip facing the ground. You could stay right here or standing splits where we walk the hands in closer to the standing leg, maybe holding onto that ankle with one or both hands. Just an option. And then let's all bring the chest forward, bend your front knee and let your left toes find the back of the mat. We'll come into our crescent lunge. We've been here before as well. Your back left knee can be on the ground or off the ground. Big breath in, big breath out. On your next exhale, we're twisting again, left arm forward, right arm back. And then you can make some choices here. You can stay right here, or you could bind around your front knee, or you can bring your left hand under your shoulder, like we were in at the beginning of class. So twisted lunge. And then on an inhale, we'll unwind, both hands inside the front foot. We'll lower the back knee to set up for lizard pose. Heel toe your front foot out nice and wide. And then different options here. So if you want a more engaged version of lizard pose, you can keep your back toes tucked, lift the back knee. And then different options here. So you could keep your hands under your shoulders, or you could go for another kind of like bind where you slide your shoulder underneath your knee and hip and then reach around your low back. Maybe that hand stays here. Maybe you reach with both hands. So this is a very engaged version of lizard. Other versions, you can lower the back knee, come to the outside edge of the front foot, let the knee wing out to the side, maybe even bending the back knee. You can stay up on your hand, or you can come down onto your forearm. We're working to maintain deep, even breaths throughout the whole practice. On an inhale, we'll start to unwind, walk your front foot between your hands, and then a half Hanumanasana or half split. So front right toes turn to face the ceiling. You send your sit bones to stack over your back heel. Maybe you stay here. Maybe you like to extend your knees a little more. And then let's again start to come out of this shape. So planting the front foot, walking your hands forward. And then we'll step into a 3-leg downward dog or 3-leg tabletop. Bend your right knee, stack up your hips. Another option for Wild Thing. So I'll demonstrate this time with the knee on the ground. You'll be rotating on your left shoulder and hip. Let your right foot fall behind you as you send your chest and hips towards the ceiling. And then if you're in Wild Thing, inhaling back into tabletop or downward dog. And then right into a side plank on the right side. Your right knee can be on the ground. Your right elbow can be on the ground. Open your body up. And inhale, unwind right into child's pose. Or if you're craving more movement, you can move through high to low push-up into back bend. And then we'll all meet in one of our meeting shapes. Child's pose, downward dog, or tabletop. And then let's get off the hands just for a moment or two. So sending your gaze forward, you can step or hop or come through each knee. So we're in a forward fold at the top of the mat. Inhale, chest forward, halfway lift. Exhale, fold. And then if your feet are quite close together, you might heel to them apart so that there's 2 fists width between your feet. And then lots of options here. You could interlace your hands for that shoulder stretch. Could hold on to your elbows and let your torso sway. And then release any binds. Inhale, halfway lift, chest forward. Exhale, plant your hands and we'll step back into our tabletop or downward dog, which is where we'll meet. If you want to flow there, you're welcome to flow and we'll all meet in one of these shapes. And then we'll do all of this on the other side. So this time lifting your left leg in the air, keeping the hips squared to the ground. And exhale, same. Left knee, left elbow. Inhale, back to 3-leg. Exhale, crossing the body, left knee, right elbow. Inhale, back to 3-leg. Exhale, knee to nose, round through your spine. And then plant your foot between your hands, spin the back heel to the ground. And we come up into our warrior 2. Find your feet here. And then we'll straighten the front knee. Flip your front palm to the ceiling and hinge back into this exalted triangle. Again, imagining our 2 panes of glass really pressing into your feet. And then inhale, we come back through center, hips to the back, now reaching forward, hinging your torso for triangle pose. Imagine sending the chest, rotating the chest open to the ceiling. And then you can stay here or play with half moon balance, in which case right hand to right hip, gaze down to the front foot. You bring that front left hand out way wide under your shoulder, and then maybe the back toes just hover. Maybe they begin to lift up to hip height. For many of us in half moon, the foot tends to come way behind us, so it's kind of paradoxical, but bringing the foot closer to the long edge of your mat that you're facing. And we'll all look down to the front foot, bend your knees back up into this messy warrior 2, just land. And then we'll straighten the front knee, turn all 10 toes towards the opposite side of your mat for our wide leg forward fold. So you can do that same shoulder stretch by clasping your hands. I'm just gonna be looking under my legs at you here. You could also add a twist. So bringing one hand to your low back, the other hand to your underneath your chest or face, and then twisting towards the low back hand. You can also walk opposite hand to opposite ankle. And if you're twisting, we'll switch sides. And then hands out in front into pyramid pose, again facing the front of the room. So the left toes turn to face the top of your mat, and then you can adjust your back foot. So feet are at least hip width apart. Pulling your left hip back for pyramid pose. Again, we have those options to keep the chest quite lifted, or you can begin to fold your chest in, maybe walking your hands behind you. Just experimenting. And then another option, you could stay longer in pyramid pose or walk your hands and your gaze forward, lift your back heel for standing L, lifting that right foot, maybe to hip height, maybe standing splits. Maybe the toes are just hovering. We all live in different bodies and different minds, and this practice is never about competing with ourselves or with anyone else. It's about compassionate and non-judgmental observation. Let's bend the front knee, bring your right toes to the back of the mat. So we're in a crescent lunge. You can lower the right knee or keep it lifted. Inhale to lift up. We'll stay neutral for a moment. And then on an exhale, twisting towards the other side. So right arm forward, left hand back. And then from here, you've got some little decisions to make. You can stay like this. You can bind around your knee with your elbow or with your hands. Or you can bring your right hand underneath your shoulder. So twisted lunge. And then on an inhale, we will unwind, hands inside the front foot, back knee lowers if it's not already, and then heel toe your front left foot out nice and wide for lizard pose. So a reminder, if you want to play with a more engaging or active version of this shape, you can tuck your back toes, lift your back knee and thigh, and then really press into that back foot so you've got some engagement there, and then tucking your shoulder under your front knee, maybe reaching around towards like the back seam of your pants. Maybe you stay, or maybe you reach the other hand, sending your chest forward. Another option, one that I much prefer, is a more lengthening, stretching version of this shape. So rolling to the outside edge of your front foot. Maybe you come down onto the elbows, maybe you bend the back knee. All a lot of maybes. We can always add on to the shapes. We can always take away from the shapes. We can always modify. So the goal is to observe yourself without judging and with total compassion. On an inhale, we'll unwind, walk the front foot between your hands. So we have half Padmanasana or half front split. So left toes turn to face the ceiling, send your chest forward, sit bones are over the back heel. Maybe you're coming into a different version of the splits, which is great. And then we will start to come out of this shape. So replanting your front foot, walking your hands to frame that foot, and then we'll step back into our 3-leg downward dog or tabletop. Bend your left knee, stack the hips. Chance it again for Wild Thing. So this time we'll turn the right fingers out a little bit. You're rotating on that bottom wrist, letting your left foot drop behind you. I'm in a bit of a squishy area. Rotate your chest to the ceiling. And then on an inhale, we're coming back the way we came into tabletop or downward dog, and then into side plank on the left side. Your left elbow could be on the ground, your left knee could be on the ground. Open up your body to the right. Side plank, Vashisthasana. And again, on an inhale, unwind right into child's pose. If you want more movement, you can move through a flow. You can also be in downward dog or tabletop, of course. And then we'll send the gaze again towards the hands. You can step or hop or come through each knee. We'll meet in forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift, chest forward. And exhale, fold over your legs. We'll again hold this fold. We have all those same options as before. You can interlace your fingers. You could have your hands across, your elbows across your knees. If you like to bind first 2 fingers around big toes, that's an option for you. Elbows out to the side, head drops. If it feels okay wherever you are, you might let your head drop and like shake it around, shake your head no, nod your head yes. It's quite a heavy weight to be carrying around all day. And then again, inhale, halfway lift, chest forward, and exhale, fold. Press into your feet, bend your knees. Inhale will come all the way up. You can add this reach with your hands. And exhale, mountain pose, finding this neutral mountain pose, feet on the ground, shoulders over hips. And then some balancing here. So we'll start with tree pose on the left foot, bringing the weight into your left foot, opening up your right knee. And then you could stay right here, hands on hips or at your chest, or you could pick up your right foot, placing it somewhere along your standing leg. Wherever you are, the knee might want to fold in forward. We're thinking about pressing it away from the front of the body while this left hip stays facing directly forward. So you'll notice in my body, it kind of sits out to the side. The hip wants to roll in. So we're thinking to hug in from the outer hips. Left hip stays forward. Right knee opens. So there's really a lot going on, even here with the toes on the ground. And then we just breathe. We breathe in and we breathe out. You can always reach your hands up. And then we'll draw hands to heart or hips as your left knee turns forward. And then warrior 3 or standing L if you prefer. So the right foot is feeding behind us. I'm gonna lose my balance here as you send your chest forward. So opposite directions reaching. Hands can stay at hips, reach behind you or in front of you, or come to the ground for standing L. And when you fall, like I'm falling here, just notice where your mind goes. Next, inhale, let's come all the way up the way we came, right knee forward, and then externally rotate your right thigh bone, cross ankle over thigh for standing pigeon. Bending into your left knee. Your hands can be flying to keep you balanced like me. You can stay at heart or hips. They can come to your ankle and your thigh. Maybe they're reaching for the ground. If you'd like to play with arm balancing, this is a place you can play with it by hooking your toes around your upper arm and then crossing the shin across your elbows, leaning forward and then playing with maybe lifting that back toes, maybe not. Wherever you are, you're noticing your breath. Let's press into the standing foot, come all the way up, knee forward, both feet to the ground. Let that all go. Take any movements you need. And then we'll do this on the other side. So starting with tree pose on your right foot, opening up the left knee, and then finding your shape here. Vrikshasana, tree pose. And this practice is never about holding a particular shape for like any amount of time. It's not about performing in any way for yourself or for anyone else. It's about observing yourself without judging. And then turn your left knee forward for warrior 3 or standing L. So the chest reaches forward as the foot reaches back. Hands can be alongside, reaching back or reaching forward. Gaze is steady. Breath is steady. And then inhale back the same way we came. Woo! Knee up and then open. Ankle crosses for standing pigeon. Bend into your right knee. Playing with arm balancing, hands come to the ground. You create that little shelf, gaze way forward. Maybe the toes hover just for a second. Maybe you can pull the foot into your sit bones. I'm forgetting all of my anatomy today. And then on an inhale, let's come all the way up, knee forward, both feet to the ground. Take a little moment here. Maybe it's stillness, maybe it's a bit of movement. And then let's come to the front of the mat. We'll start to actually move down to the mat. So we'll come into a deep squat. So turning your feet out. Feet can be about mat width apart or wider. And then sending the knees over the toes. So you can stay here with your hands or your forearms on your thighs, or you could drop your sit bones below your knees, maybe pressing your palms or fists into each other for this Malasana variation. If you like to play with arm balancing, again, you could play with crow from this position, in which case hands would come to the ground, bring your feet in closer, and then big toes touch as you bend your knees, tuck your knees into your armpits or upper arms, again, looking way, way forward. Maybe 1 foot, maybe 2 feet lift, maybe no feet lift. And then let's bring the hands out to the ground, one knee down and then the other. We're in tabletop. You could take a round or two of cat-cow here. And then we'll come into a forearm stand. So a very challenging shape. If you'd rather not do another challenging shape, you don't have to. So you could come into a child's pose. You could also just lay down onto the front of your body, which is where we're going next. If you'd like to play it with some more discomfort, some more challenge, you can bring your shoulders over top of your elbows. Palms can be pressing into the mat or interlaced. And then send your knees down the mat so that hips and shoulders are in one line. I tend to associate a similar sensation as to when we hovered our knees at the start of class. Might be different for you. You could stay, you could tuck your toes. From here, if you want more sensation, you can lift 1 foot, take a breath, and then switch. You can also bring your gaze forward to your thumbs and begin to pike at your hips, walking your feet in closer to your elbows. The goal is to breathe smoothly through this challenge, through this discomfort. And then on your next exhale, lower your knees, pelvis, chest. Or on the front of the body, you can turn one cheek, or you could bring your chin or your forehead. You could stay here, could add a little hip wiggle, or bend your knees, let your feet move. And then we'll move into 2 back bends from this orientation. So we've already been through kind of a Sphinx pose with the elbows on the ground. You can straighten the elbows or keep them lowered. We could also move through Cobra or Upward Dog, or my personal favorite these days is a wide Cobra. So fingertips off your yoga mat, elbows up like a spider, and then pressing into your pelvis and fingers lifting your chest. You can stay neutral, or you can add a shoulder stretch, dipping one shoulder and looking over the other. Let your neck kind of fall. And then inhale back to center. Exhale, other side. Inhale back to center. You could repeat this. You could lower down whenever you're feeling done. On an exhale, we will all lower down. Taking a moment here, your hands could be alongside your body. You could add a little hip wiggle. And then we'll do one more back bend from here. So chin or forehead to the ground, and then hands alongside your body. You could repeat any of the back bends we've already done, or locust or floor roll is another option. So locust, will reach the hands alongside, squeeze your shoulder blades together on your spine, lift your chest. Maybe you lift your hands and your feet like you're reaching behind you. This is locust. You can stay right here, or you can bend your feet for floor bow. You don't have to make contact, like trying to lift the thighs without is quite challenging. But if you are making contact, kicking the feet into the hands. Notice your breath. And then on an exhale, we'll release down onto the front of your body. And then if this feels nice and restorative, you can stay right here, or you can press into a child's pose. into pigeon or deer. Could also, of course, come to figure 4 from your back. So for pigeon or deer, we'll move through tabletop or down dog. Bring your right knee to your right wrist. For pigeon pose, you can really play with the angle of your front shin. It could be like parallel with the front of the mat, or you could be hugging that foot in close to your body. For pigeon, the back leg stays straight, we fold forward. For deer, we sit onto that front hip. For deer, your front shin is parallel with the front of your mat. Back shin parallel with long edge, and then you hinge forward. Or of course, you could be on your back, right ankle over left thigh. And then we'll switch sides here. So welcome to move through tabletop or downward dog, or you can just sit onto your front hip, swinging your legs around. And then we'll start to come out of this side. We'll meet on our seat to come down onto the back. So again, you could come through tabletop or down dog and bring your feet to and through, or just rolling onto your sit bones, swinging the feet out in front. And then we will hold onto the back of the knees as we just roll down onto the back of the body here. I'm just putting on a layer. So rounding through your spine as you allow your vertebrae to meet the ground. Feels natural to hug the knees and go for it. And we'll do one more back bend from this orientation. So one round of bridge or supported bridge or wheel if you'd like. So we'll start with bridge pose, walking your feet like about hip width apart and then a distance from your sit bones that feels stable for you. So some people like to be able to be grazing the back of their heels. It's not necessary. Roll your shoulders back and under. Press into the big toe mounds of your feet and your heels. Lift your hips and pelvis. Here we are in bridge. If you had a block, a yoga block, or something else nice and sturdy like this, you can tuck it right under your sacrum and let that just hang there. If you're working with a more active back bend, then you're pressing into your feet, thinking about knees coming towards each other rather than splaying out. And if you want to play with wheel, you can come in steps. So we can walk the hands to the sacrum or low back. This kind of might change the back bend for you. And then maybe hands wide to the outside edges of your yoga mat, fingers facing shoulders. And then you press onto the crown of your head. I've got an awkward hair clip. Maybe you straighten your elbows, straighten your knees for wheel. Wherever you are in this back bend, let's take one more full cycle of breath. And as you exhale, lowering down all the way. Any kind of counter poses that feel nice, you might walk your feet nice and wide and let your knees hang in towards each other. You could also let your knees kind of windshield wipe side to side as we've been doing. And then let's finish exactly the way we started. So planting your left foot on the ground and extend your right foot up to the ceiling. You could again bind behind that thigh or calf. Maybe you're walking the hands up to the ankle and then your left foot can stay planted, or it could walk down the mat. Gently pulling your right leg towards yourself. bend that right knee, holding onto the outside edge of your ankle or your pant leg or your foot for a half happy baby. And then on an exhale, we'll draw this right knee across the body for a closing spinal twist. Adjust your hips, extend your right arm. And on an inhale, back to center. You can plant your feet, adjust everything on your mat. And then this time we'll extend the left foot to the ceiling, right foot stays planted. You can find your bind, find your hips, and then maybe extending the bottom foot. And then you bend your left knee, hold onto the outside edge of that foot or ankle, half happy baby. And a big exhale takes the knee across the body for our spinal twist on the other side. And on an inhale, we'll come back to center. Again, you can adjust your feet on the mat, adjust your hips and pelvis. And then we'll take a symmetrical shape to close. So maybe it's just staying exactly here with the feet pressed into the ground, kind of feeling the symmetry of your body, feeling the ground supporting you in this nice stable way, no twisting, no bending. And then if you'd like, you could hug your knees into your chest or extend your feet to the ceiling or over your head for plow pose or happy baby with both feet. Any other symmetrical shapes that you'd like before coming into your final resting shape. And when you're ready, climbing into your Shavasana, so corpse pose or final resting shape, you can extend your feet and hands mat width apart. You could also be on your side using your arm for a pillow. And then if you have the time, you might just stop or pause this recording and maybe put a blanket over yourself and settle into a longer deep rest. So giving yourself time for your body and your mind to just absorb all of this good energy that you've taken the time to cultivate over the past 58 minutes or so. And if you are ending your practice here, then you can just take a moment to really feel into your body, your breath, letting go of any focus that you've been maintaining. And then ending with some kind of gratitude. So gratitude for yourself, your body, your mind. Maybe gratitude for this ancient practice of yoga. It comes from South Asia and has moved throughout most of the world in the past few hundred years. So acknowledging all of this ancient wisdom that we have access to from different parts of the world, all the benefits it can still bring for our lives today. And then in closing, please accept my gratitude. The Sanskrit word for thank you is Dhanyavad. So Dhanyavad, everyone. Thank you for joining in on this recording. And I hope you have a wonderful day or evening or morning or night, whatever time it is where you are. And I hope to see you soon.